Hey everyone, it's Chris, and it's been a hot minute since the last video, so I think it's time for a very long overdue update with what's been going on recently. I've actually been super busy since my last video, which was back in June. I've had a lot of stuff to do. I'm a part of 2 different ensembles, and we've had like 2 or 3 concerts since summer, so there's been a lot of things going on. I thought, let's just catch up, let's figure out what's going on, what I've been doing, where I am, and talk a bit about saxophones. You might not recognize this guy. This is my new alto saxophone. It's a professional alto saxophone. It's a Yanagisawa AW01. So it's basically their entry-level professional saxophone. I've had it for about a month now. There was this whole thing, I wanted to buy a pro soprano, but didn't really work out for me. So I thought I'd try an alto. It's been great. It's been absolutely amazing. It plays really, really nicely. I've got a really nice setup. I've got an Aizen Jazzmaster, which is a 6 opening. I'm playing on Lupifaro reeds. They're 2.5s for alto. And yeah, this combination is just really nice. I found that over the past year or so, basically since I got a soprano, I've been doing only soprano. So all the ensembles that I'm in, I'm only playing soprano saxophone. And that's fine, but I found that I was really missing my alto playing a little bit. The alto that I did have was a Trevor James SR. So it's basically an intermediate saxophone. It's about £1,300 or so, maybe about £1,500 now. And it's a really good saxophone for an intermediate, I guess, but I feel like I've really been pushing beyond intermediate recently, which I know sounds like a lot because I've only been playing for about 18 months or so. However, I do feel like it was time to upgrade. This kind of feels, it's fine, just feels pretty clunky. The action's very high, and I know that I could have got it adjusted, but then when I play on the Yanagisawa, everything's a lot more versatile, and it feels a bit more like I'm playing on a soprano. Because soprano for me is like incredibly fast. I can play as fast as I want on soprano. I was finding on alto, particularly the Trevor James, it was way more clunky and my fingers were doing a lot more like flicking out like this. Whereas now I can play really fast and the action's just really flowing with me. So as well as playing a lot of jazz stuff, because I'm in a jazz band, I've also been working a lot more on my classical sound, particularly on alto. As I said, with all the ensembles I'm in, I'm playing soprano a lot more. So when I'm playing just for myself and playing things that I want to play, I'm playing a lot of alto, and I found myself gravitating a bit more towards the long legato, slower sort of classical pieces, which I think sounds really nice on alto. Not necessarily so nice on soprano. So when it comes to more classical playing, I'm playing on a Selmer S80C Star. I've got a Van Doren Blue Box 2.5, and I feel it just gives me a bit more of a focused classical sound. So I feel like over the past, what are we, July, August, September, October, the past 5 months or so, I guess I've been focusing a lot more on alto. And it's really shown because I find focusing on soprano has really helped my alto playing. I feel like I'm way more in tune on the alto compared to the soprano. But the soprano's not necessarily been that bad either. I find that I sound really quite nice on soprano now, if I do say so myself. So on soprano, I'm still playing on my Yamaha YSS 475 Mark II. It's pretty much the top level intermediate instrument, and in my opinion, I think it's perfect for professionals. I mean, I tried a Yanagisawa AW01, and I found that it wasn't necessarily any better than this one. I had a couple of leaky pads on this one, and once I fixed them, it was perfect. It was everything I needed. I've also got a new metal mouthpiece. This is a Yanagisawa metal mouthpiece, and it's a 7 opening, and I'm playing on 2.5 Lupifaro soprano saxophone reeds. So again, I feel like I've just really found my setup for soprano. I'm sort of gravitating a lot more towards jazz with soprano saxophone. I know that I am in the Sax Orchestra Manchester, which is a little bit more popular music, a little more classical and a little bit of jazz. So I do tend to put on an S90 mouthpiece for that. But when I'm just at home or practicing for my jazz band, it's definitely really nice to have a more projective mouthpiece. And I really like the way that I can express myself a lot more on this mouthpiece, because I can do a lot more bends and I can sort of make the sound a lot more fluid, which I think really suits the sound that I'm going for. I mean, I know for a fact my playing's not perfect. I know that I still have a long way to go with my playing, and I think that's the main thing that's really developed for me recently, is I'm playing a lot more stuff and I'm a lot more involved with various ensembles and also what I'm playing by myself. And I feel like the more that I play, the more aware I am of what's not quite right, or what's good, or what could be improved a little bit more. So I feel like I'm become really quite good at listening to myself. I feel like a lot of the time when I was still early on and just figuring out the notes and I was still playing clarinet fingerings in the bottom register, I feel like my focus was purely on getting the right note out at the right time. I feel like I've got quite good at reading music. I'm definitely better than I was a year ago. So now that I've got that under my fingers and I'm a lot more comfortable playing, I feel like I have a lot more space and mental energy to focus on what needs improving. So one thing that I really need to work on at the moment is my jaw. Now I know a lot of jazzy players will say, move your jaw, it's no problem. So like, for example, I've really brought my jaw down to make that sound and then pushed it back up again. But when I'm trying to play more classical pieces, it actually starts to make the piece sound kind of flat. So I felt the need to drop my jaw to go doo-doo. But what it's actually done is it's gone da-da-doo-doo. And I'm in danger, I guess, of overstepping and over-slackening so that I have a flat note. And while I feel like I can get away with it on soprano if I'm playing something a bit jazzier and a little bit more free, on alto it's kind of messed me up a little bit. I really like to bend on soprano, as I've just said. If I try and do that on alto, it doesn't quite work as well. Of course, when I try, I can't do it. There. So I was too slackened off, because on soprano I would start slackened and tighten up. So it's like, but on alto, it actually just jumps down the octave, even though I had the octave key on. So sort of my stylistic preference on soprano isn't really translating to alto particularly well. And because I've been playing soprano for so long and focusing on it, I feel like all of the like little tiny corrections that I make with my mouth, I'm trying to do it on alto and it doesn't work anywhere near as nicely. Of course, if I go straight for the note with no bend, it's no problem at all. But I feel like it doesn't feel like the style that I want. I could get around this, I guess, by going like, so it kind of works. I just really need to get the airflow right, and I need to, I guess, not compensate as much with my jaw, because I feel like it takes a bit more on alto to get that right. Like I said, with soprano, if you sort of slacken the tiniest bit, you're going to get a bend in your note. On alto, you can stay in tune a bit easier if you're just going for the note, but if you want to do that expressive thing, you've got to slacken a bit more, and you're in danger then of completely blowing the note. So I feel like I've got two different styles to contend with. One that's very easy on soprano, but something that I'm maybe not ready to do yet on alto. Maybe the setup that I've got isn't quite right yet, but it's definitely made me feel a bit more conscious and aware that I need to be going straight for the note rather than trying to bend up to it. I feel like it's maybe something I've got too comfortable with, particularly with soprano. It's very difficult to play in tune. So if I bend, I can feel out the note with my ear, and it's a lot easier to kind of guess the note and then fix it. Whereas on alto, I don't necessarily need to do that, but I'm still trying to. So I think I need to, particularly on alto, definitely on alto, go back to basics a little bit, really go back to my long tones. Like with soprano, I was having a really hard time getting my low notes out. So I spent so much time going from middle C down to B flat without moving my jaw, using only my neck muscles until I could get it right. Sticky C sharp. I've not done that on alto. I feel like it's a different kind of setup for my muscles and what I'm used to. So a B flat on soprano, my muscles there need to, if anything, slacken more in order to get the right connection with a B flat on an alto, because it's different, isn't it? So notice how below the F things start to get iffy. Because that's the note I'm used to on soprano, so I feel like the frequency, whatever that means, you know, the sort of positioning of my muscles and my airflow down to that F is great. But when I go below that, it's sort of new, uncharted territory. But then when I play alto in the higher range, easy. Because it's so comfortably within the range I'm used to on soprano, I feel like it's really not difficult at all for me to get to the top of the range on the saxophone when it's an alto. It's only when I go down below the range I'm used to on soprano that suddenly it feels a bit iffy. Like trying to hit a low C on alto. Not so bad, a little bit honky maybe. Try that on soprano. I can come in quite quietly. Quite comfortably, quite quietly tonging on soprano. Feel like on alto I can still play it quite quietly, but it's very airy, very breathy, and I feel like I'm losing my breath as I'm playing. Actually not too bad, but it definitely still needs work. So anyway, that's kind of what I've been working on at the moment. At the moment it's all soprano and alto, a little bit more of a focus on alto because I need it, I guess, and I'm just really enjoying a bit of a break from soprano. It's been all soprano recently, so being able to do something a bit different has been really nice. But I get that's been talking for half an hour into a camera. What do you expect? Have a good day. I'll see you next time. Bye.